What we've been working on is something that's called the 4DT, the four-dimensional trajectory control. And the four dimensions are latitude, longitude, altitude and time. And we've been working on how you can effectively control the air traffic flow in these four dimensions. If we look at the current system, the air traffic control system, everything is done based on radar surveillance and the predictions based on the radar. And the time span becomes very short. You're normally working in 2 to 5 minutes look ahead time. What we do today is basically fly as fast as we can to get to the airport and then arrive there to find out that there are too many airplanes, so you have to put them in a holding pattern. And once you do that, of course you burn a lot of energy and you do it at low level and you pollute and you make noise if you're low enough. And that is generating a lot of cost for the overall process. With air traffic predicted to double within the next 10 years, we have to address the capacity issue as well as the environmental side with noise and emission. I believe 4DT is the answer. The big change now is that we have been able, together with Boeing and Smiths Aerospace, who builds the flight management system, to open up that we can take data out of the system and link it to the ground system. The flight will start with that the controller accesses the computer system on the aircraft to see how the flight will go into his sector and his airport. And basically what you do is you assess if it's in conflict with other aircrafts that are coming in at the same time. If it is in any conflict, you have to adjust the flight path. If it's not in conflict with any other aircraft, you let the aircraft fly its optimum flight profile. So what the pilots, they're using the flight management system the same way we are using the flight management systems today. The controller accesses the information actually without the pilots knowing that the controller is looking at it. And when he has done his assessment, he either lets the aircraft fly or he comes up with a constraint. If you come up with a constraint, with altitude, time or anything, the pilots will insert that in the flight management system and the controllers will then see the result of that and see how that fits into his overall planning for the airport. So by doing that, we can utilize the control authority that we have with the aircraft. And basically for a 1 hour flight, we have 6 minutes that we can work with. So we can come a bit earlier and a bit later to the airport.
This will be the future, and hopefully we will have all the benefits from the green approaches that are expected actually. More efficient flights, we're going to save fuel economy for the airlines, we're going to save the environment, of course, with noise and emissions as well. Now we got a new telex, and actually this message is telling us to expect a green approach to Arlanda, Hamar 1 November for runway 19 arrival. So now we're going to program this into the FMS.
A green approach is actually an unrestricted arrival and approach, and the only restriction in there is actually to be on that planned runway. So it's a very gliding airplane experience. You basically use idle thrust all the way down to your speed reduction point when you start to take out flaps and slats and landing gear. Then at that time we add power.
Pretty much all the technology is on the aeroplane already, it's on the ground already. What is changing here is the process that we're using. So the information that already exists, that the controllers have got, that the pilots have got, is being put together so that everybody is working from the same system.
It will improve the ability of the air traffic controller or the pilot to maintain safe, orderly flows and fly the flights in an optimum way.
The reason the 4DT system hasn't been developed before is basically that there has been significant steps in technology now. On the navigation side, we can assure very accurate navigation with the aircraft. We're using satellite navigation, inertial navigation. We have redundant systems on board. That's one side. The other side is that we're able to communicate that. We can data link that to the ground and give that to the air traffic control side. And the most important factor, I would say, is the drive for more capacity and more environmental friendly operation. There is a political pressure on these sides.
We have invested in upgrading our 737 aircraft, and the main reason is that we see big potential for being able to do so-called green approaches, environmental friendly approaches, and they also save a lot of fuel in our operation.
It means that they will be burning less fuel. They will be able to be routed away from areas that are very sensitive to noise. It also means that they won't be flying at low level for the same amount and getting the emissions down into the lower atmosphere. So on any one flight, of course, it's a very small effect. When you magnify that over the sheer number of flights that are being carried out today, it's a colossal effect all around the world, and that does remove one of the constraints to growth for air transport.
The experience has been that with the advanced approach we can save about 300 liters of fuel compared to a standard one, and the more bad approach, so to say, you can have savings to up to 700 liters per approach, which is quite significant, especially as the airlines make quite a few approaches per year.
It's one small application, but in a whole it's a revolution for air traffic management, I would say. And I believe, and many with me around in Europe and around in the world, see this as the enabler to meet the demands that in terms of capacity and so on for the future.
Everybody knows now that there are going to be so many people who are going to turn up in such and such a place at such and such a time, so you can plan for it. And that finally is going to mean that as a passenger, you're going to get from A to B with much less stress. You're going to do it more efficiently. You're not going to hurt the environment as much, and you can start to plan your whole life better. You know, that's how air transport really could be at the moment, and isn't, but is maybe how it's going to be in the future.
The overall community will gain because you'll have less noise, less emissions, and a more reliable source of transport, because that's what the airline business is about.